Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. There's a brand new post-apocalyptic anime on the block. It's called Deca-Dence, and it's weird as shit. This anime series has had a lot of hype built around it because, of course, it is from the director of Death Parade and Mob Psycho 100, and those are two series that I hold in very high regard, in particular Death Parade. This is a post-apocalyptic anime series, which kind of reminds me of a combination of Attack on Titan and Immortal Engines. Now, post-apocalyptic stories have been done before, especially in anime. In fact, there's a lot of influences that I can actually see in this episode, but there are also a lot of things about it that I think are wholly unique. If anything, it's very stylistic and it has some really great character design, but overall, I think the first episode was a pretty good introduction to this brand new world, which takes place in a fictionalized world where 90% of mankind has been completely wiped out by these weird creatures which are known as the Gadoll. The Gadoll are these weird creatures which can take any number of forms, whether it be a giant octopus monster, a weird spiky beast, or even a giant massive kaiju-sized whale monster. Pretty much when it comes to the design of these monsters, it looks like we're going to be seeing a lot of them. And as for what they are, where they come from, why they attacked the humans, it's a complete and utter mystery. I'm sure we're going to dive a little bit more into it as the future goes on, but the fact of the matter is, there's such a threat to mankind that only 10% of the freaking population exists, and they all actually live in this massive mobile fortress, which is actually called the Deca-Dence. Essentially, it's a massive tank city which can actually undergo a number of different transformations as it actually uses those transformations to weaponize itself and battle against the Gadoll. They also have a group of soldiers which are known as the Gears, which are these Mad Max-style warriors who actually go up against the Gadoll, driving around in vehicles and using these weapons which are almost impossible to describe. Essentially, they wear these circular backpacks and they have these spear weapons which they use to not only attack the Gadoll, but to actually siphon and steal their blood away. Because the entire, mobile fortress Deca-Dence is actually fueled by the Gadoll's blood, which is this sort of green misty color. It's really strange when you actually see it happen towards the end of the episode when the Gears are fighting against them, but it also makes it a really unique action scene. But this entire series is going to be following a character, a young girl who goes by the name of Natsume. In fact, the beginning of the episode sort of dives a little bit into her backstory, how when she was younger, apparently she was injured and she lost her arm against a Gadoll, and her father apparently died in an attack as well. Flash forward a few years, she's a little bit older. I can't quite tell if she's a teenager, if she's in her early 20s, or if she's even younger. The point is, she's actually a group of these other young people who are known as tankers. And the tankers are actually there to support the Gears as they actually go into battle. But Natsume has dreams of eventually becoming a soldier. She wants to be a warrior so that she herself can actually fight against the Gadoll. Of course, this doesn't end up happening, and she ends up getting a terrible job where she actually has to clean the outside armor of the massive fortress. Here is where she starts to learn that life is going to be pretty difficult, and she's going to have to work really hard before she can work her way up to being a soldier. She has pie-in-the-sky dreams of wanting to be a great warrior, but it's not going to happen all that easily. She's instructed by a man whose name is Kaburagi, and he is certainly a dude of few words. He doesn't say much, and he seems to have a mysterious past, and the end of the episode implicates that he used to be some sort of great warrior, but now he's sort of complacent to live peacefully within the massive fortress and to just clean the outside of it. I have a feeling he's probably going to end up having some sort of tragic past, and his connection to the Gadoll is also kind of strange, as he also seems to have one of them as a pet, a weird, goofy, little squishy thing that I can't even describe. Something that also sort of confounds the character of Natsume a little bit. When she discovers this, my first thought was that she was going to immediately just hate it, but no, she's okay with the fact that there is a peaceful creature out there. I figured since her father was actually killed by the Gadoll that she'd have the whole Eren Yeager thing of we have to kill them all, but I'm glad that they actually go against that trope. She seems to be a lot more hopeful and positive in terms of what her personality is when compared to characters like that in other post-apocalyptic series. But again, this entire episode is mostly just sort of introducing the main characters and the concepts and showing what happens when these people actually go to battle against the Gadoll. In fact, the final couple minutes of the episodes is a massive fight scene where we get to see like an army of these creatures, which is led by a giant like whale-looking one, immediately decides to attack the fortress, which is not a good idea because the gears come out and they manage to not only whip their asses in a very nice-looking action scene, but we also get to see what the city is actually capable of. Not only that, but we get to see that Natsume gets involved in this confrontation, and she almost ends up dying. That is until her instructor Kaburagi actually ends up saving her in another amazing action sequence. But it's the city that when it transforms and attacks the massive creature is awesome. Like I said, they seem to sort of like siphon the blood of these creatures to power all of their weapons, but the city itself actually runs on this blood as well, and they actually have these like massive missiles which have the ability to suck up this blood, and they launch it into this massive creature, and then suddenly the fortress starts to transform, and it creates this like giant fist-like cannon, which at first I thought was actually just gonna blow this thing away, but it actually ends up punching it really hard to the point where the creature manages to disintegrate, and it ends up sort of like absorbing all of that blood directly back into the fortress. While this is only a very small percent of humanity, they seem to have some really extreme technology when it comes to taking on these monsters, and I have a feeling learning where these things came from and the technology that exists in this current post-apocalyptic setting, I think is going to be one of the best things about the show. But there's also still a little bit more mystery behind it, as well as Natsume's backstory, Kaburagi's, and the fact that there is a really perplexing scene. And the fact that there's a really perplexing scene at the very end of the episode when you have these weird, cartoony-looking monster things which are involved. And if anybody can make any sense of that shit, you can tell me what it is in the comments section below. So what's the rundown on the very first episode of Deca-Dence? This has been a pretty hype anime series for the season, and I can honestly see why. And the first episode certainly delivered on that post-apocalyptic action that you were looking for, and if anything, it's stylistic. But to me, it's also kind of like a hodgepodge and combination of a ton of other things that I've actually seen before. The good news is the characters are really inventive and have great character designs. Natsume in particular, I think, is going to end up being really interesting. Just the fact that she's a female lead who is incredibly positive about everything, despite the fact that she doesn't have the job that she wants. I love the fact that she has like this like really cool like mechanical arm. I'm sure that's going to come into play with some of the weapons that she is going to use, and I can't wait to see what her overall story is going to involve. There isn't like any really clue as to where the main story is going to be heading. Like I said, this is just sort of the general concept and lore of this world. There's a lot of expositional dumping at the very beginning of the episode, but it doesn't necessarily bog anything down. It's an interesting series, but like I said, it feels so familiar all at the same time. It feels like I've seen this a number of different ways in different anime, movies, books, and comics, what have you. That doesn't necessarily make it bad, but I think that the series is going to have to try and do a little more different to distinguish itself in the coming episodes and seeing where it's going to go. If anything, what excites me most about Deca-Dence is that it's an original anime project. It's not based on anything. It's just something that's kind of new and something that was just invented strictly for the format of anime, and that's what's got me really excited, which means, of course, they're not going to be held back by anything. They're going to be able to create their very unique story, and they're going to be able to do it on their own time with good pacing, good character development, and hopefully it'll continue to have pretty good production value. The action scene at the end did look really good, but there were some moments that did look a little sloppy at times. But for the most part, it has a very good look to it, and I have to say the final action scene of watching Kaburagi save Natsume and fight against all of the Gadoll monsters was really satisfying, not to mention that city transformation. My first fear was that it was going to transform into some sort of giant robot, and while that probably would have been cool, it would have also been incredibly cliche. For it to actually create like a massive weapon, which ends up sort of like smacking into this monster and taking all of its blood away, ended up being a lot more unique and overall more memorable. It was really damn cool, I have to admit. That's only the way to describe Deca-Dence. It was just a really cool first episode. It didn't completely blow me away, but it does have me intrigued, and I want to see what's going to be happening next. So I'm going to give the very first episode of Deca-Dence a 4 out of 5. You heard my thoughts about the episode. I want to hear yours. Did any of you guys check out the brand new anime series, Deca-Dence? Are you excited about this brand new post-apocalyptic anime? Did you like the first episode? Did you not like the first episode? Have any favorite moments or characters? What are your hopes for this brand new anime franchise? Sound off in the comment section below. So there it is, guys. That's the end of my review. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you did like the video, please hit the like button. Helps out these videos tremendously. I would also like to thank all of my patrons for continuing to contribute to the channel. You guys are awesome. You are effectively helping produce a lot of the videos on this channel, as well as getting your very own specific anime reviews. Remember, if you guys make a donation to my Patreon, I will review an anime series of your choice, so make sure to become a patron of Ace Guru. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down, baby.